الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our deeds in this holy and blessed month of Ramadan. One of the questions that many of us ask is, what is Imsaak time? And why is it important to have Imsaak time in the prayer timetables? Do we have to stop eating and drinking at Imsaak time? Or can we go all the way up until the actual Fajr time? The word Imsaak in Arabic means to abstain or restrain from doing something. It's called Imsaak time because you stop eating and drinking. You abstain from eating and drinking. This is why it's called Imsaak time. Now, the actual time to start the fast is not Imsaak time. It's Fajr. It's dawn. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Baqer, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا, you are free to eat and drink, حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمْ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. You're allowed to eat and drink until you see the white light, the white thread, visible from the black one. This is an Arabic expression that refers to dawn. We have two lights at the time of dawn, during this time of twilight. One is called Al-Fajr Al-Kadhib and one is called Al-Fajr Al-Sadiq. We have to go by Al-Fajr Al-Sadiq, the true dawn. Basically, what happens is when Fajr occurs, you find that there's a white column of light that vertically appears in the horizon. This is not the real Fajr. About 10 minutes later on average, you have a white light in the distant horizon that begins to appear horizontally, not vertically. This horizontal thin white light is the beginning of Fajr. And Fajr, by the way, in Arabic either means an opening or for something to blow up. Right? The reason why we call dawn Fajr in Arabic is because that white light breaks the horizon. It separates the earth from the sky. It seems like it's breaking it. This is why it's called Fajr. Fajr means an opening in something. So this is Al-Fajr As-Sadiq that the Holy Quran refers to. You actually have time to eat and drink up until this occurs. This is the Fajr time. Now here's the challenge. In many cities around the world, especially in bigger cities, where there is what we call light pollution. At night there's a lot of light, street lights, other types of light. This actually is very difficult to observe with your eyes. So now if you go at, let's say, 5 a.m., trying to see that, chances are in a big city you cannot see that. Yes, in remote areas, or especially in desert areas, where the visibility is better, you can see it. In the past, people could see it. They could identify the time of Fajr. It was clear to them. They were more connected to nature. These days we sit in our buildings not really having a clue what's happening outside in terms of nature and these timings. So that's why in some of these bigger cities we are not sure exactly what Fajr time is. So we exercise caution and we add about 10 to 12 minutes before the Fajr calculation that we have. We call this Imsaak time. Imsaak means, as a precaution, stop eating and drinking. You don't have to, but as a precaution, this would be a good time to stop eating and drinking so that you prepare yourself for the fast of that day. So that's the meaning of imsak. It's not mandatory, but it's highly recommended, my dear brothers and sisters, to observe the imsak time. If we had a way to know the exact fajr, we did not need the imsak time. But because there are different calculation methods, it's very difficult to verify this with our eyes due to the light that's scattered in the atmosphere these days, then we go by this imsak time. Now, are you allowed to pray at imsak time? No. Remember, you have to pray when you know definitely fajr has set in. So you cannot start your salah at imsak time. I've heard some people, they have this false assumption that at imsak time you start praying and at fajr time you start the fast. No. The fast and the salah, they start together at fajr time. So do not do your morning prayer at imsak time. Wait for the fajr time in order to do your salah. Yes, stop eating and drinking at imsak time as a precaution. Now, why are you allowed to keep eating and drinking until the actual time of fajr? Well, because we have a law in Islam called al-istishab. It's the law of continuity. Basically, what the law of continuity means, you do not negate certainty with doubt. Al-Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam in a hadith, he says, لا تنقض اليقين بالشك. Do not negate certainty with doubt. You're certain that 10-15 minutes ago, right, it was night. Fajr had not set in. 30 minutes ago, you're sure it was night. Now you doubt, did the Fajr set in or no? You're not sure if Fajr set in. The law of continuity states, continue the previous state. Do not negate certainty that it was night with doubt that it became Fajr. So based on this principle, you're allowed to eat up until Fajr time. You are allowed Islamically to eat. However, it's not recommended to do so. Why? Here's the consequence. Imagine you did not stop eating and drinking up until the Fajr time. Later, one day you came to know that Fajr was actually before that. Instead of 5 a.m., Fajr was actually 4:55. Let's say, one day you discover that. Someone proves it to you through a calculation, or somehow you go outside, maybe in a lake area where you have more visibility. And when you check the actual Fajr, or someone checks it for you, you discover, you know what? On the prayer timetable, Fajr was 5, but in reality, it's 4:57, it's 4:55. And all those days that I was going all the way up till 5, I was eating and drinking, those days have to be repeated. Yes, you don't have to pay a kafara because you did not do anything sinful, because due to the law of continuity, you had the right to go up until Fajr. But the consequence is, if one day you discover that you were wrong with the timing, you have to make it up. So don't put yourself in that situation. That's why we have the imsak time. With the imsak time, as a precaution, we take about 10, 12 minutes, some people maybe 15 minutes. They stop before Fajr eating and drinking. That way, they know for sure that they stopped eating and drinking before the actual time of Fajr. By the way, if you yourself go out and you try to check for the Fajr, you investigate yourself, you research yourself, you come up with the calculations in terms of investigating which calculation is the most accurate, then we have a hadith from the Imam ﷺ says, if you yourself make the effort to figure out the time of Fajr, and based on that you start your fast, then later you discover you were wrong, your fast is good. You don't have to repeat it. No qada here. Why? The Imam says because you made the effort to go and investigate the time of Fajr. But if you're just relying on a prayer timetable or just a calculation by someone else, then you have to be cautious, my dear brothers and sisters. That's why I encourage everyone to stop eating and drinking at imsak time. And then 10-15 minutes later, you can do your morning prayer once you're confident that the time for Fajr has set in. One last point here about Fajr. There are some people who live in northern latitudes. like northern Canada, Alaska, northern Europe, Sweden, Finland. During the summer months, the Fajr is not discernible there because the night doesn't really get that dark. There is still, this level of light in the atmosphere. So you can't really see this, white light at the time of Fajr. Because as you get closer to the North Pole in the summer, there is no night. So if you get closer there, you will have a sunset. Maybe the night is 3-4 hours long, but it's not dark. So how do you identify the Fajr here? And the calculations here, by the way, sometimes confuse you. There are different calculation methods. Here's what a number of maraja and scholars have said. They've said to know the Fajr time here, see when it starts to light up out there. So let's say it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and you notice that out there it's getting lighter, it's getting brighter. Once the sky gets brighter and that's discernible to the eye, that means Fajr has set in, and basically you pray and you start your fast, inshallah. So this is just a brief discussion on the time for Imsaak. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our prayers and deeds, and especially our siyam in this holy month of Ramadan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.